July in Princeton, New Jersey. 1935, while working together as physicists at the Institute for Advanced Study. After publishing a groundbreaking theory, Albert Einstein and Nathan Rosen conclude that, in fact, the theory of relativity permits shortcuts throughout spacetime. These routes are referred to as the Einstein-Rosen bridges, or travel to the most distant stars is made possible via wormholes, which link two far-off places. There's a chance that the structure you're referring to in the cosmos is one that incorporates a lot of extremely powerful bending of space and joining of two disparate regions of space. So if you imagine a piece of your basic wormhole is made of paper that has been bent around, punched out, and connected from one location to another. There are 4.2 light years between our planet and the closest star system, 4.2 years away, which would require you to travel at the speed of light. It is indeed the only way to get there, at a speed of 186,000 meters per second. Might resemble a wormhole, however, the concept of a wormhole. There are amazing opportunities to realize this technology through travel. Presents enormous obstacles, according to scientists. It would take a lot more energy to create a traversable wormhole than we can generate. However, there is a theory that suggests that so-called exotic matter could offer the what you need to unlock wormhole travel is matter. We refer to this as exotic matter, since it has negative mass and we only know of things with positive mass. Exist, we simply aren't aware of it yet, but the fact remains that it requires enormous amounts of energy to produce this. Consider removing all of Jupiter's mass and you're speaking to millions and millions of times more when you translate that into energy. More energy than a nuclear weapon. Despite the fact that most experts agree that we have a long way to go before we can develop the technology to generate wormholes, if that is even conceivable. Those who already accept these celestial shortcuts, scientists at Vanderbilt University in 1991 suggested that, in addition to creating the cosmos, the chaos of the Big Bang might have also led to the several wormholes that formed billions of years ago. Space-time itself was being mashed together and expanded during the Big Bang, contracted, and according to one theory, if you had a size comparable to the Himalaya mountains and the surrounding spacetime, could have been extremely stressful, that it would internalize this issue. Similar to this, you can picture spacetime being combined with creating a little wormhole. The potential outcome, according to, would seem to researchers as a wormhole of the size of an after finding these several wormholes. An atom might be able to be stretched to become one of the things we know about traversable wormholes is that the universe has been growing, indicating that space-time as a whole has been extending, so when the cosmos is quite small, thus you create a tiny wormhole as the entire structure extends, and expands as well, potentially creating an enormous wormhole. Now, is it true that wormholes were formed in the early universe? Conceivable as some theorists of ancient astronauts contend that celestial beings have already traveled to wormholes, or stargates may have existed on Earth in the distant past. Man's interaction with the ancient world can be explained by openings and entities passing through them. There is a secluded forest in the village of Gods in Suffolk County, England. Rendlesham, which gained notoriety as the location of one of the most remarkable UFO experiences ever reported. And other witnesses think that time travel was also a part of this tragedy. Happened when Airman John Burroughs was performing on December 26, 1980. A standard security inspection at a U.S. Air Force base where he was instructed to, my supervisor called me on the radio to ask me to come over and look into a potential downed aircraft. Inspect the East Cape. As we were heading toward the East Gate to see how it was doing, he suddenly noticed it chose to phone it in and led him to see some odd lights in the forest. They sent one of the security troops down, S. Pennison, because they knew something odd was happening. He saw the same weird lights that we were seeing down there, and I could see all these different, I'm not sure how, but the air felt different, and there were color lights and other stuff. To adequately describe that, but we did feel as though our skin was electrified. Hair, and other things, but the closer we came to the forest line, the worse it got. Intense, as if the air were charged with electricity, and then, additionally, as the soldiers got closer to the unusual object, there were moments when it felt like everything was moving slowly. Lights. According to reports, Sergeant Peniston spotted a big UFO just past the tree line. The triangle-shaped craft was roughly 6 to 7 feet high and black in color. Finally, I arrived at the far side of the craft, and I saw that there was an inscription regarding the side, which is perhaps 3 feet long and possibly 6 feet high. So I'm anticipating discovering, I'm not sure, some prototype material from the USAF. Instead of something familiar, I'm searching for something really familiar. I started to run my fingers along the side of the screen after seeing these pictorial-type glyphs. I'm not sure how to describe this, but it seems like someone was holding up a picture and I could see it in my head. I recorded the I zeros and ones one after the other. Another reported that he experienced an odd feeling after touching the craft. Information to his brain, and the following day he felt obliged to write down a string of ones and zeros that we now consider to be binary. A computer programmer used this data years later and ran it through a program for translation, and a message surfaced that read, "An examination of humanity's constant pursuit of planetary advancement in your eyes. Origin of eyes. Year 8100. Seeing the year 8100 of origin forces one to speculate. We will be examining time travelers in addition to aliens. From the future, the U.S. military carried out a quick inquiry following the incident, but purportedly attempted to prevent the press from seeing the eyewitnesses. But for Airman Burroughs and Officer Peniston, it was difficult to leave the incident because both men suffered from long-lasting physical consequences of the interaction, and even claimed having weird dreams following the incident. I initiated experiencing issues with my throat and eyes, and at one point, my gums went white. I also experienced visual issues, and one of the first things the doctor asked me when I visited him was if I had ever been exposed to. I have undoubtedly dreamed about radiation, and I continue to feel what transpired and what might occur in the future. After I was removed from duty and I was away for about 3 months in 1993 before I began having these dreams. Then, nightmares. While I was having dreams, I see that these were time travelers who traveled between 40 and 50,000 years into the future. The reason for returning was to make corrections to anything. Something terrible has occurred that you must fix, but doing so will involve time travel. Necessitates going back in time, but I've never felt it. It has always been the case that if it were just us in the future, would the craft John Burroughs and James Peniston were said to have seen it, and it wasn't far away. Star, but from somewhere far away in applause. April 25th is PPA Use Gamma Chile time. 4:15 a.m., 1977. Armando Valdez, corporal, patrols the 7-man military team in the northern desert, abruptly lost their lookout, enters the camp. After seeing 2 brilliant violet lights come down from 500 yards from the sky and the ground, Corporal Valdez led. What transpired after this patrol and he got close to these objects is unknown. His guys witnessed him nearly vanish in a state of bewilderment and uncertainty. He remembers becoming bewildered and even fainting when he entered the brightness. And he reappeared the following moment. Once more, but the odd thing was that he grew by 5 days of his watch, and Beard displayed a date 5 days into the future if he had somehow been absent for 5 days. But to everyone else in the patrol, it was only thought that we had a few minutes to speak with. 4 Armando Valdez was interrogated by members of Valdez's team, and everyone agreed that, in reality, this encounter had taken place right after the incident. Corporal Valdez, about to pass out, went back to his comrades and said, in threatening statement, "You don't know who we are or where we've come from." Yet, with the increasing amount of stories following this enigmatic meeting, many people think they were accurate in their Chile is a hotbed of UFO activity, with reports of numerous sightings. There have been some notable UFO sightings even in the past 8 years that the Chilean government has acknowledged. We observe an exceptional variety of incidents in Chile, ranging from pilot contacts to close collisions. I believe that UFOs are the reason Chile is still regarded as a hotspot for. The reason for UFO activity is because Chile has one of the largest deserted geographic sites on the northern region of Earth, is a barren desert that is essentially uninhabited, and Chile's southern region is home to glaciers and fjords, scarcely inhabited down there as well, and there are various hiding finds, empty locations on the map where no one travels at all. It would be a perfect location for an underground. Anything that enters our area can be hidden, and centuries may go by without anyone noticing. We'll find out whether aliens are hidden in or even lower than the populated areas of Chile, and if so, do they only want to study humanity? Or is there a chance that be a more physical element drawing people to this area of the Cheers May world, Kingman, Arizona? In 1953, during the height of the Cold War, an unknown item is said to have crashed. In the desert, what was left of the sands was purportedly taken to America's top-secret Area 51 of the facility. However, it wasn't until 1998, 45 years later, that a former military engineer, a man by the name of Bill Uku, made a startling assertion that the military didn't only possess the IP, they made a living using technologies from space. According to the alien house, he was employed at a covert laboratory that was purportedly situated in Nevada's Area 51 Papoose Mountains, and that since 1953 the government was collaborating with an extraterrestrial insectoid named, according to reports, Drod helped the military comprehend and reproducing the amazing power systems and cutting-edge technology that were brought together and produced for the Kingman music craft. Microbiologist Dan Burish arrived soon after Bill U. House broke the story. Forward to verify his assertion, but Dan Burish-Drod stated that he wasn't extraterrestrial, but what he disclosed was considerably more Drod, the startling insectoid alien, claimed to have truly arrived from our future, and the fact that at some point soon, there is a disaster in the future for us on this world, and a large portion of humanity is demolished, and that humanity divides into two species, and among these, one dwells underground. And they grow these insectoids underground, characteristics which the Hopi, according to Zuni and perhaps Navajo legends during the period of transition, this modern world atop the third and fourth worlds was not livable, and they had to spend some time underground with. They referred to them as the ant people, and you have to consider whether, in reality, Drod is an insectoid person from our own. Could Drod's accounts in the future verify that the hopeful tales of ant individuals were more than fiction? And if the so-called insectoids are real, is it perhaps they are not extraterrestrials, but rather people from the Cambridge in the future? Some of the best in the world can be found at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Researchers at MIT are leading the way in innovation, including the creation of power-efficient wireless transmission technology. For years, scientists have been baffled by electricity, radio waves, microwaves, and even power transmission from laser beams has not been successful. However, in 2007, MIT researchers were able to wirelessly transfer power 7 feet across The first step to turn off the power was announced to be a room a foot away. It would be amazing if all electrical equipment were powered on automatically all the time. Over a century ago, the idea of not needing any wires or charging was conceived. Nikola Tesla, the inventor, and according to some reports, he was close to truly accomplishing that objective. Tesla's wireless. Many scientists have simply looked at power in passing. And the experiments that Tesla conducted in Colorado Springs between 1899 and 1900 confirmed that using wireless technology was indeed. Perhaps in an attempt to transfer power kilometers, Tesla traveled to Colorado Springs, which is an amazing accomplishment, but he had a massive tower with a 200-foot summit. Tesla said, "When I give you the signal, I want you to throw the switch," to the lab assistant. Then turn on the wireless wire system, and Tesla most likely walked 4 miles away. Connected light bulbs to the earth to check whether his tower was indeed producing if there is a wireless circuit with the earth, the light bulbs would illuminate. He demonstrated his ability to transmit electrical power over long distances by lighting bulbs. However, he did maintain it a secret, even from his helper, who wasn't fully aware of the mechanics. The specifics of his identity, music performing Shum in New York. 1901, Tesla persuades J.P. Morgan, a banker, to provide him $150,000 to build a radio station, but instead he builds a massive wireless transmitter with the funds. The distance to the Warden Cliff Tower was 187 feet. Top, but it descended 120 feet into the ground, and Tesla had imagined receiving stations that would resemble the Warden Cliff in every way. Tower at several earthly nodal points in order to leap energy by. He even believed that he could eventually utilize the same technology to bounce from station to station via wireless power to several planets. But Tesla's vision of building in 1904, a highly effective wireless electricity broadcast was interrupted. Later, J.P. Morgan learned about Tesla's genuine plans to give away free electricity too. Due to a lack of further finance, the project was entirely abandoned by 1908. Abandoned, and the tower was destroyed in the year 197. Tesla was shut down because no corporation or company wants to freely give away its technology. Without free energy, the world wouldn't exist. But how did Tesla manage to wirelessly send power over a distance of several miles while contemporary scientists can just 7 feet? Tesla attributed his numerous achievements to the capacity to fully comprehend them in his thoughts. He also talked on powerful light bursts that were followed by brief. With great clarity and inventiveness, he would see the emergence of an innovation. He claimed to be able to rotate in front of his eyes in nearly holographic detail. These visions dissect things in detail, and he was well aware of his intending to construct these innovations using his visionary. In a moment of insight, he created one of his greatest inventions, the rotating magnetic field. believed that all of our impulses emanated from the outside and that we were receivers, and that we worked on them in order to doesn't think they originate from inner visions or dreams. Instead, he considered that humans were somewhat self-driven. Some ancient astronaut theorists think that robots. There might be another reason for Tesla's extraordinary powers and enigmatic. According to their visions, these impromptu incidents demonstrate that Tesla was obtaining data from a supernatural source. These pictures would practically exploded into his head, and some connection was created someplace. Nikola Tesla was obviously in a similar situation to how biblical prophets obtained their prophecies. Touched with something that makes you question if or not aliens themselves weren't supplying him with pictures of Nikola Tesla technologies that only he could comprehend, believed that somewhere in the cosmos was a knowledge base where if people learned how to correctly tune their minds, they could access this understanding. Applause July at base Colorado Springs. In 1899, Nikola was testing a magnifying transmitter designed to monitor storms. According to Tesla, he got a signal of some kind from an unidentified source. He was following thunderstorms 600 meters away one night when all of a sudden, he listened to this beeps and 3 consecutive beats, making it mathematical, but it didn't make any sense to him. And the more he considered it, the more he believed that they originated in space, possibly from the Mars orbit periodically puts it near Earth, roughly once every 1.8 years, and he thought he was picking at one of those close encounters. He probably has a sensitive radio receiver that could pick up signals from Mars, sufficient to receive radio waves, which we now know originate from galaxies, and many he took them to be communications from ETS because they came from various alien sources. However, it's possible that he had an unresolved channel that we still don't comprehend. As of just now, Tesla thought it was ridiculous to imagine that the sole sentient entities in the world would consider that. Why wouldn't they wish to speak with an intelligent entity on the planet? And are they part of the intelligence hierarchy? Tesla reported this unearthly phenomenon, communication, and declared in February that he believed in aliens. 1901, in a Call Your Weekly tit piece on the planets that Tesla grew fixated on in an attempt to get more radio messages from extraterrestrial worlds, based on these transmissions that Tesla was. After receiving it, he came up with the idea that these aliens had been in charge of Earth for 1,000 years. How far did these communications take humanity from the beginning? It finally got to the stage where he could get helpful information that was assisting him in developing. Many people think that this is what transpired and that Tesla had direct communication with extraterrestrial intelligence through his inventions. But the startling revelation was rejected by Tesla's scientific colleagues, which caused many to believe he was insane. So, Nikola Tesla is physically electrifying the planet, scientist. When he and J.P. Morgan, a very powerful man, had a falling out, he'd had a renowned argument with Edison, another renowned and influential figure. Afterward, it was revealed that he might have been attempting to communicate with the planet Mars, and his enemies took advantage of this, I believe, to try to discredit him. Tesla discussed Adam's work, like Einstein received the Nobel Prize for discovering that light might function as both a particle and a wave in solar systems, claiming that Rutherford received a Nobel Prize and that light behaved like a particle in Bohr. Since he said that atoms resembled miniature solar systems, why is he excluded from when he truly belongs in the center of quantum physics history? Therefore, I believe that the physicists have treated him unfairly, and that his attachment to his Nikola Tesla, just letting his imagination run wild when he thought about extraterrestrials, or could he actually had communication with aliens? Belgrade, Serbia is home to around 160,000 people. Rare information on Tesla's future can be found in records from the Nikola Tesla Museum. Plans, some of which are thought to be drawings of historians, claim that spaceships Tesla started developing his flying machine in 1910, concentrating on the use of anti-gravity or field propulsion. It is thought that Tesla had shown that large electrical power may truly provide lift, and in thing that Tesla frequently discussed in the 1920s and 1930s, ships with anti-gravity capabilities that might be powered by his Warden Cliff Towers. He asserted that these ships, which lacked wings and fuel, were going to be transmitting power. Electric, but were Tesla's creations indeed the original ones? Or is it feasible, as suggested by ancient astronaut theorists, that comparable in the distant past vehicles had previously traveled to the planet in ancient India? Vimanas, those flying chariots, are mentioned in the epics and Vedas. Some of these Vimanas are utilized by the gods to move from one place to another. Were able to quickly and effortlessly change direction? So now looking at this from a contemporary standpoint would imply that you employed some kind of anti-gravity equipment. Was unable to connect this from the ancient world to the contemporary UFO phenomenon, which led to the notion that Tesla. It is highly likely that they worked on an anti-gravity device. The images of flying machines seen in ancient Hindu literature, such as the Mahabharata, demonstrates unearthly knowledge that Tesla had acquired in order to create spacecraft with anti-gravity capabilities. And if the alleged insane scientist did in fact communicate with alien beings, kept fulfilling their desires in applause February's Singapore Airshow Mystery 2014, saw the release of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, an Israeli arms manufacturer. Information about a laser defense system that can launch missiles from the air using a pulse of iron is the name of the futuristic military equipment. The idea behind Iron Beam is that it functions similarly to a high-energy laser. The purpose of it is to quickly heat up the target it is targeted at. Concerning airplanes, drones, missiles, or anything else that could be used to strike an iron, could practically destroy a metropolis in the sky. Beam, which sounds a lot like Tesla's death ray, is the type of Tesla was discussing the use of these beams in the 1920s and 1930s. Tools for destroying missiles, and the War Department chose missiles based on Oppenheimer's and Einstein's atomic bomb without using Tesla, although it appears that Israel is currently working on this. They adopted iron beam technology after realizing that atomic weapons were far away. Could it be that Tesla is too destructive? Created a technique for time viewing or time travel, which he learned about. Tesla was once cited as stating that these advancements, they own the present, but the future that I have truly labored toward is, did Tesla actually look into mine? Iron beams could prove in the future that designs for the death ray weren't just there. However, it's also possible that the US government confiscated and carried it out. Some people think Nikola Tesla was not just in communication with aliens, but was brought to Earth by them to complete a task. And as we enter a new era for humanity, one of the most important concerns is who? In a way, is Tesla an avatar, an enlightened creature who comes to Earth to assist? Nobody truly knows what's going on with humanity, but I believe that all great artists, including Tesla, regarded themselves as an artist, believe they are tools for a greater good. And Tesla undoubtedly believed he was operating in accordance with those lines. There is a plan, an agenda for humanity, and in every generation, whatever the power source is, sends to Earth certain particular souls who are more capable of being receptors for the higher information that makes you question whether Tesla was brought to Earth by aliens in order to envision and create all of these incredible gadgets. If aliens placed Tesla there for a reason, what did they achieve? What they wanted to accomplish? The response might be no. Like, if technologies had been publicly recognized here on Earth, we could have made the deserts greener, and using tabletop energy levels to desalinate ocean water, we have anti-gravity craft in this new and different world where we don't have to pay for energy. Teleportation technology, and we are now genuinely living in a golden age. That hasn't happened on Earth.